What's going on, everyone? Keegs here, and I'm here once again with Ben. Say hi, Ben.
Hello.
And we are going to be talking the most difficult bosses in all of Act 2 for Hollow Knight Silksong. If you didn't catch our last video talking about the Act 1 hardest bosses, then you should go back and watch that, but if you don't want to do that, then no problem. Just look at the screen and see exactly where we ranked everything from the first act. Now, these bosses are being ranked on a fresh playthrough for you and where you fight them relative to in the game. So what did we struggle with the most as we were playing? Obviously, a lot of Act 3 bosses are harder than Act 1 bosses, but because you have so many more tools and you're much better and more skilled at the game, they might not have felt harder or felt more difficult than some of the earlier bosses. So that's where we're at, and starting off strong, we have the Cogwork Dancers. Where are you putting these guys, Ben?
I put this at the top of hard. It wasn't like super challenging, but I died a lot. The fight wasn't frustrating in any way, and I just learned that they do not share a health bar, so you can actually make this fight go even faster
if you just focus on one
by not just hitting whichever one you're closest to, which is what I did every time I fought it.
Yeah.
Really good fight, but maybe one of the best fights in the game, but wasn't that hard.
I agree with you. It was super awesome, and the aesthetic of it was amazing. And I think it did provide a challenge, and getting hit felt so dumb because they tell you exactly where they're about to go. So every time you run into them, you're like, how did I not move? Like, it said it was going left. Why did I go right? You know, like I should have gone up. But it just felt very fair, and it wasn't super frustrating, wasn't a super tough run back. It was challenging enough, and the way they sped it up I thought was a nice touch, but honestly I was expecting the third phase, although lore-wise makes sense as to what happened. I felt like I was expecting something crazier, you know?
Yeah, I was kind of expecting something else to happen. I'm like, oh, okay. And the fight ends. It wasn't even disappointing. It was just like, this game likes the rug pull you, so I was expecting it, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah. So then moving on, we're going to Lace fight number 2.
It's weird, actually. I think I struggled with this more than the final boss of Act 2.
Yeah. I struggled with Lace 2 a lot. To me, Lace 2 was one of the hardest bosses I had faced up until that point. I think it was harder than Beastfly for me. Did I die more to Lace 2 than Beastfly? I don't think I did, but it felt very hard, and I couldn't ever get the rhythm down just right for me. So I think I struggled with her more than you did, but
it's kind of hard to see also.
Yeah.
Like,
she was white on a white background. Yeah.
Yeah. Like even like Lace 3 was easier to see than this one.
Yeah, for sure.
And that was just black on black.
Yeah.
So actually, I put her in hard above Cogwork Dancers, so it's the hardest so far in that category.
Yeah. Definitely,
like, relative to, if we're looking at the fight in a vacuum, it's definitely harder than every boss we've discussed so far, but I didn't have as hard of a time with this as I did with Widow, Last Judge, or Savage Beastfly. I was just with those fights forever.
Yeah, I did. And there wasn't even a run back, which was crazy, too.
Yeah, you could just go right back in.
Yeah, I know. And I still struggled pretty hard with it.
There's not much to say about it. I feel like it's mostly just a faster version of the first encounter. And I think that's part of the reason why it was probably significantly harder for so many people. Like, aside from the fact that it's supposed to be harder.
Yeah, I was just used to the slower pace of her first fight.
You're used to, like, those specific timings, I feel like.
Yeah.
So, and they change.
And then she also had the little bombs or whatever that would go off behind her when she dashed into the air. And I felt like that caught me out a lot more. I got caught out, I feel like, a lot more on this one than I did even probably on Lost Lace.
Not for me, but yeah, I could see how that would happen.
She happened to go every time exactly where I wanted to go. And then I just ended up bouncing into her, too.
That's kind of like a reoccurring thing I felt like with a lot of bosses. It kind of felt like they knew where if you reacted too fast. And that's why I was kind of what I was thinking about with regard to needing to be patient and quick at the same time, like finding an equilibrium.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that.
Pretty hard.
Then we have Grandmother Silk. So this is kind of the last mandatory boss, I guess.
Last mandatory boss.
Which is crazy.
There's still
Trobbio. 3 bosses. Then I guess we'll get into the additional bosses after that. How hard did you think Grandmother Silk was?
I think she was easier than Cogwork Dancers for me.
Oh yeah? That's not a bad placement, I don't think. I think I am also gonna put her in hard. I thought she was harder than Cogwork Dancers, but easier than all of these other ones that I have above her. Her moveset seemed to have a pretty long tail, I think, for each of her moves before they hit, so it was pretty easy to dodge them, I felt like, for the most part. And her herself was easy to hit too. She would just float there above you basically for the most part, and as long as you were slightly getting out of the way, it didn't feel very complicated.
Yeah, there's an optional fight later that uses some of her moves that is harder than her.
Yeah.
And she's a good fight, don't get me wrong, but her being kind of easier than a lot of the other fights so far, plus the fact that we were still in Act 2.
Yeah.
Duologies aren't that common. I was like, there's no way this is the final fight. I just didn't know how to trigger Act 3 at the time, but I assumed that there was a way to.
It did feel like she was an epic fight, and when you went in there, you were expecting it to be more difficult than it was. To me, I struggled so much more on Lace's second fight than I did on her. I think it took me probably like 3 or 4 times the amount of tries on Lace 2 as it did Grandmother Silk.
Which makes me feel like Lace 2's difficulty is an accident, because I feel like, and this is kind of true of Lace Fight 3 as well, it's like some of her moves are just really hard to read because of how she reacts to you.
Yeah.
Not so much with like the Phantom, because I think Lace is also kind of a dance fight, but she dynamically reacts.
Yeah.
And it's not always easy to tell what she's going to do, and if you react too quickly, she can very easily catch you out.
Yeah.
So, but Grandmother Silk was so much more readable than that at like sight reading.
Yeah, it was easier to react because you could tell what she was going to do a lot quicker. So moving on, we have Trobbio. I thought Trobbio was hard, like pretty hard. I think he was very hard. I think I struggled with him more than I did the last judge.
I think I would also put him in very hard. Not as hard as the last judge, because I'm also in the run back. But
true, the run back was a lot easier for Trobbio.
I would put him over Widow. I was on him for a while and not even realizing he was optional. Which, I mean, it makes sense that it, but I didn't like connect with me that it was. Really fun fight though.
Super fun, super cinematic, and hard. It's a pretty good combo for me. I wasn't generally frustrated with the fight ever, but it was difficult and it took me a lot of tries, which I appreciate. That's what I like to see, is kind of these harder bosses that also don't raise your level of frustration, you know?
Yeah, I did get frustrated on this before I realized you could bat away the like balls he throws at you that explode. Also, his tornado move, for some reason it took me a while to like learn how you're supposed to dodge that, but once you figure it out, it's like really easy.
It could get you
caught. I agree, pretty hard.
If you tried to retreat a lot of times on a pogo, then that's really where it would get you because of the trajectory that it goes away from him.
Yeah, there's like an impulse to like just run away from things that are coming at you, and that often is a mistake in these fights. It's better to jump over them.
It is, and this is a very good example of that. So moving on, we have, and I still don't have a tile for it, but the second Savage Beastfly fight in the lava. Now this is a very controversial one for people. I feel like some people have a really hard time with it, and some people have a pretty easy time with it. I was in the camp of this was easier than the first fight by a pretty good margin for me. If I had a tile, I would put it probably at the top of not very hard, but
yeah, it was way easier for me. It had like, so the enemies that are in there I think are more annoying than anything that the first boss spawns, but because it's such a big room,
it's easy to...
it invalidates a lot of it.
Yeah, it does. And because you're not trapped in the room either, so if you ever get into a really bad situation, you can just kind of keep going out of the arena and then come back. And I feel like that's not a great way to do it. It feels a little cheesy, but at the same time, if it's going to allow you to do that, I think it's a perfectly viable solution. If it wanted you to stay in the room for the fight, it would have closed the walls. So I think because of that, there's a lot more tools that you can use to make this fight even simpler, because the flyers in this that shoot fireballs at you feel a little ridiculous because those fireballs also stick to the ground, which can limit your footing entirely through the fight. So it sometimes gives you no choice but to either pogo off the boss for a little bit until those things go away, or just go a little bit left where there's more ground.
Yes, and I guess you can fight this in Act 1, so maybe if you did fight it in Act 1, it would be much harder. For me, I didn't fight this until...
That sounds like a horrendous fight in Act 1, or in Act 3, honestly. If you fought it anywhere not in Act 2, it was probably much harder than I had.
Yeah, so given that, I would also put it in not very hard if we had a tile for it.
But you know who I do have a tile for? Groal the Great.
Oh my god. This might have been the worst experience I had in the game altogether. and the most difficulty I had, like just by himself, probably not that bad. Even maybe even a fun fight actually, but like everything about this fight feels designed to mess with you. The run back sucks, even with the optional quote unquote bench or the secret bench. It still sucks. I know I saw so many people that were like, "Yo, you just get the secret bench and it's not that bad." And I'm like, "It's still awful." Like
everybody says that, and I'm like, "It still sucks. It's still long. It's even the close bench is still the worst one in the whole game." And that's what I'm like.
What are you talking about? Maybe because people were doing the fight on like the other run back, and I'm like, okay, I could see from that perspective how it feels that much better, but it's still really bad.
Yeah, it's still. I can't think of another fight in the game that has a worse run back.
Yeah, you have to do the gauntlet before it.
Yeah.
The run back sucks because you can fall in the water and lose your heals. Yeah. And then the fight messes with you. He has the floating bullshit, just kind of like float into you and hit you multiple times. The way that to make this fight easier that I think is actually intended is to jump in the
swamp.
The swamp water, but it's so like you never want to do that on any other occasion, and like, but if you realize that, the fight becomes way easier.
It did make the fight a lot easier once I did that, but it still sucked. It still was not fun.
I was here for like, I want to say like 3 or 4 hours, man. I like, to me, like top of hardest.
Yeah.
And it's not because of just Groal himself, but like I also thought this was a miserable experience.
I also thought it was miserable, and I am going with you too. I think he was the worst of the worst. Like, he sucked. It was not, it wasn't fun. Like, that really added to the frustration, which I think adds to the difficulty when you get super frustrated and you just keep trying to go back, keep trying to beat him, and it just isn't working. And every time you die, all you can think about is that run back and then trying not to get into the swamp before the run back. It's just a lot. It puts a lot on you mentally, which I think makes you perform worse in the actual boss too. So it feels even harder. Yep. I was not a fan.
What a awful experience.
After that, though, man, there's so many bad ones now. So after that, we have Broodmother, which I know you didn't struggle with as much as I did, but Broodmother was so hard for me. I don't know why, but she was very hard for me. Top of very hard for me, because I just struggled so much. The run back at least was super easy for it, but it was just, I couldn't figure out all of her bullshit in this tiny ass arena where she would fly and that had these stupid ads that came out. Freaking hate this thing.
This might be the most like disparate artless get, because I put her not very hard at the bottom.
At the bottom of it right here.
Yeah, like I get what you're saying, but for me it just wasn't. I hated this boss anyway though, because I think it's gross.
I don't know why I struggled so much.
I don't do well with gross.
I'm in the minority with how hard I felt like this boss was, and I don't know why, because I was like pretty well equipped to go into this fight. I couldn't do it, and the health pool of this boss was pretty large. I used most of my tools in this fight, which was crazy to me. I'm like, how are you still even alive?
Right.
Then we're going on to Disgraced Chef Lugoli.
God.
Yeah, another.
I also did not like this fight, but like I didn't die that many times.
I didn't either.
Kind of an annoying run back.
To me, it was the top. I think it was harder than Grandmother Silk. Get up there.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. This right here is wild, but that's where I'm going to put it. I think it was a hard fight, but not very hard.
I'd put her under Lace 2 above Cogwork Dancers. I just, like, it wasn't that complicated even. It was just the swamp water, and then there was one move where it felt like there was like momentum to it, and it could just like float into you in the recovery, and you get hit again.
Yeah,
I really hated that, and that caught me out a few times.
I thought it was a lot easier to dodge the like swamp water maggot crap than it was in like pretty much any other area that had that as a mechanic.
I agree.
So
it definitely was.
It felt like the balls of goo or whatever came out pretty slow, so it was easy for me to dodge. I ended up beating her, like, and at the very last move she hit me with it, but it was really just because I knew she was close to being defeated, so I just went in to try to out damage her. So that's the only reason I ended up getting hit, I think, at the end. So moving on, another pretty challenging one was the Forebrothers Signis, and I struggled with this a lot. Like, to me, this was a pretty hard fight. I think it was harder than Widow. Not quite as hard as the last judge.
Yeah, so there is a shortcut for this run back that makes it a lot better.
I probably had that because I feel like my run back was not bad at all.
Yeah, it wasn't. But if you don't get it, I mean, it's not easy to miss either. So I feel like most people probably got it.
Yeah.
But for the first phase of the fight and he only has 2 moves, I don't know why this felt so hard. It just was.
It was the second phase with the 2 brothers. Like,
he can knock you into the lava.
And they were all over the place. It was hard to keep an eye on both of them, and they were both firing things off pretty regularly, I think. So
yeah, and the arena was small. There was ads, the size of the lava, and I did not fight this with the magma bell, so I had like a really bad experience here.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. That would definitely make it even harder.
I'd put this in very hard also. Probably wouldn't be on a second playthrough, but the first time I was here for a while and I did not have a good time.
Was it easier or harder than Widow, you think?
It was definitely harder. I had a harder time than Trobbio, actually. I put it at the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair placement for it too. It was a hard boss, and I don't know why, because nothing they did felt crazy. I just died a lot.
Just the combination of things.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't have the bell, it's like, okay.
Yeah. So the next one on the list is the Enraged or Raging Conchfly. To me, this one was easier than the first one. I don't think it was very hard. I think it was not as hard as Morwing. I think it was a little easier than that. But I wouldn't say it was an easy boss. Just not very hard.
Yeah, not that much to say about it, but I agree that it was easier. I'd put it at the bottom, not very.
Up next, we have the Father of the Flame. Now, I want to put this in joke because it is kind of a gimmick boss, but I struggled with this more than I did. Honestly, either of these two. I think it was even harder than Boss Mother for me. I don't know why, but I think it was still like an easy boss, but it was annoying the way the little butterfly flames would come at you, and I knew when to move was after they stopped flying around or whatever, and they started to get really bright is when you had to move. But there were so many times where I was trying to pogo off of the little bell or whatever, and there was no way for me to get out of the way, so I would get hit sometimes. And if you didn't have the magma bell, this would have been horrendous, getting hit for 2 damage at a time. I think this would have been like a hard fight if without that one specific thing. What do you think?
Yeah, like I feel I really struggled with this fight. 1, I didn't have the magma bell, and 2, I felt like I just wasn't as good at the game. Then I came back with the magma bell, and I
whooped his butt.
I one-tapped it. So like I didn't even.
So what you're saying is if you're well equipped, then it's easy, and if you're not well equipped, it's hard.
And I don't think it was just because of the magma bell. Yeah, like I think it's the biggest range in like how your level of skill when you fight it.
Yeah.
Compared to other fights, it scales really weirdly. So I actually put this in hard.
At the end of it,
above Sister Splinter and Under Morwing.
Yeah.
This fight like pissed me off more than it was hard.
The run back was not like hard either, but it was a little annoying. The way the
once you figure out how the little flames work, it gets a lot easier.
For sure.
I think they may have nerfed this too.
Oh yeah, this is the one where I died to the end of it.
It seemed like when I fought it the second time, it seemed like the part where it spits out like the waves of fireballs at you was less difficult to dodge.
Oh, interesting.
When I came back,
yeah, it could be.
Could have been that I was better, but I think they may have nerfed it.
That's possible. There was a lot of little butterflies coming out at one point, for sure. Maybe you just got good RNG, too. It's possible.
Yeah, it could have been that, yeah.
Moving on, we have the second Sentinel. This was kind of a cool boss, but it wasn't very hard. To me, it's like the lowest of not very hard. I wouldn't say it was easy. You definitely had to pay attention, and it had a good amount of moves, but it actually only took me 1 try. Maybe it was easy. But I'm gonna leave it at not very hard at the bottom.
I'd put this above Poopfly and Enraged Conchfly, but I agree that it wasn't that hard.
Yeah.
Cool fight though. I like the lore of it, and it just kind of shows up and kills the bugs.
Yeah, I like that he helps you out, because those other bugs in the Citadel can be annoying as shit. Up next, we have the Unravelled. I think I struggled with this boss more than you did. I thought this was a very hard boss. I think not quite as hard as Widow, but this was, to me, the epitome of I had to use tools, otherwise I was going to do 0 damage to this thing, because you couldn't pogo off it, and the way it would run at you and the tools that it had against you made it so that you couldn't really get close a lot of times. If you were fast, you could hit it in the back when it like ran past you. But if it was facing you, it's like shooting out stuff like right in front of your face. So if you're right next to it, there's a good chance you're getting hit. So to me, I thought this was a pretty hard boss, and I struggled with it.
It was fairly challenging. I'd put it at the top of not very hard. Like I died a few times, but I didn't feel like, you know, actually I'd put it, it's definitely harder than Sister Splinter for me.
Yeah.
I'd put it above Sister Splinter in hard, yeah.
I think other people didn't struggle with this as much as I did, but I thought it was pretty tough.
I didn't like it that much, so that's kind of like coloring my perception.
It also didn't help that the beginning was a little annoying with the ads that it shot out to.
Yeah. Not as bad as some other fights, but definitely a little annoying.
And the final one on our list for Act 2, Hollow Knight Silksong, we have the Last Sinner. Sorry, the First Sinner. I don't know why I say last every time, but the First Sinner.
Literally the opposite.
So where are you going with the First Sinner?
It was pretty hard, but it wasn't frustrating at all.
Yeah, same.
So like,
I think it's a very hard fight, but it's super fun.
There
was no frustration with
ever
it at all.
It's just like, oh yeah, I know why I died.
Yep.
I could have dodged that.
For sure.
It's just like a lot coming at you, but it was all very readable.
There was pretty significant tells, obviously, like you just said, but also time in between attacks to allow you to get your bearings and readjust if you needed to.
Yeah, I put this at the top of very hard as well. Even though like it's hard because like
it's actually challenging and not just building on frustrating mechanics.
Yeah, not just irritating. Because I was here for a while. I was here for like a good hour, but it wasn't. I probably struggled more on Widow, Trobbio, and Ignis, but because like there was no run back and where it is. Actually, you know, it probably put it at the bottom of very hard. Now that I'm saying that, because like I had an easier time than I did all of this.
Yeah. Honestly, I probably these two. I'll put it down a couple. I think I struggled more with Trobbio and for some reason Broodmother, but yeah, I think that's probably where I think I struggled more on this one than I did the Last Judge. And
the First Sinner was also one of the bosses I fought last in Act 2, so I was just better at the game by that point. That's so like it's gonna be very like dependent on when you fight it, I think. But I had a good time with it. Really, really fun fight. Just not. And it is hard, but it's not. I didn't think it's as hard as some of the other stuff.
I agree with you. It's sometimes difficult to rank them where you want to rank them because it was so much fun and you enjoyed it. You're like, you feel better. I feel like at the game if you rank it higher. You're like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, this was so hard, but I did so good.
Yeah, like I feel bad that I'm not putting it harder.
But anyway, that's going to wrap up the hardest Act 2 bosses, at least the ones we found most difficult while playing through our first playthrough. This is Keeks and Ben signing off. Catch us next time for our Act 3 most difficult bosses.